Hey everybody, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. So this is not a plan with me or a currently inked. I'm actually reviewing this cute little notebook sent to me by Great Fountain, Italy. So this was sent to me to review. I am not getting paid to post this video, and all of the opinions in this are my own. So I actually received this notebook quite a few weeks ago, and I did want to just test it out over the few weeks really to see how it would work under different conditions, different pens, different markers, and things like that. So when it arrived in the mail, it actually came in this little sleeve here that was just very easy to take out. And on the back it has the specs for the notebook. So it is 52 pages, 100 GSM paper, pure white and plain, and it is 3.5 by 5.5. So comparing it to, where is my A6? Comparing it to the A6 size, you can definitely see a difference. It is a bit smaller in terms of height and width as well. So you can see the difference in size from the A6. First things first with the design. I love the design. I'm not normally a cat person, but I do love that the design itself is neutral enough that it's fun, but neutral enough that it's not going to be too outlandish or make you stick out too much in a work meeting. And then, like I said, I love the size because I can just throw this in my purse and have it as a quick place to jot down notes while I'm out and about. So we open up the notebook here, and on the inside there is a quote from Benjamin Franklin that says, either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. And the way that I wanted to test this book was how did it work with my fountain pen inks, my pens, and things like that. So I actually put my currently inked for May 2022 in here, and what I found was that with all of these, I didn't actually see too much feathering with any of the inks. There was maybe a tad, like a really tiny bit of feathering when I was using my Pelikan 140, but this is a very wet writer and probably the broadest nib that I have out of my whole collection. So I wasn't surprised to see a little bit of feathering in there. But with my fines and extra fines, I did not actually see too much feathering. And then if you actually flip to the back, there is a little bit of shadow, not too much that it would bother me necessarily, but there is a little bit of shadow and like a drop of bleed through. I wouldn't even call that bleed through, but no bleed through whatsoever with this paper. And then I tested it with the TWSBI Diamond 580 with the Smoke Rose Gold, and this had a fine steel nib. And I tested it with the Pilot Iroshizuku Kosumosu. And like I wrote down here, the paper feels very smooth, dry time is not too bad. There is a little bit of shadowing, but again, no bleed through. It's not a size I would normally use, but it is something that I would just throw in my purse to jot down a quick note. I would use this for swatching as well. The only thing that I do wish it had was a dot grid, because my writing can easily go wonky without any type of guide. And I prefer a dot grid or a grid, even if it's a very light grid. I prefer either one of those. And like if you look on the back here, again, no bleed through, but a tiny bit of shadow. So I also want to zoom in a little bit here, because you can see with this particular pen and ink combination, there is no feathering. And actually with a lot of papers, I'm always worried about whether the pen and ink combination is going to feather on the paper. But this particular one, no, you don't see that. I would probably be a little bit more worried if you had a broader nib with a really wet ink. That's when I would worry about feathering and possible bleed through as well. But for this particular combination, no feathering, no bleed through. So the next thing that I did end up swatching in here were some of the new pens that I got from Stationery Pal. I tested out the new Zig markers as well as the new Tombow Dual brush pens, and they went on very smoothly. No feathering with these ones either. And if you look on the back, There is a tiny bit of bleed through with the zig markers, and I expected that. I would expect that actually because of how much ink you're putting down when you're putting that amount of surface area onto the paper. So I did expect that, and with the Tombows actually a bit of shadow but no bleed through on that. So I really like Tombow dual brush pens work really, really well here. Then I did a writing sample with my Pelikan 140, and this has got an extra fine bit of a flex nib on there as well, and I wrote here that it's very smooth on this paper with some feedback, but that's also the way that I like this pen. Looks like that particular ink that I had in here, which is Rohr and Klingner Alt Gold Grün, took a little time to dry, but once it is dry, no smudging. Really, really good ink. And then I did some flexi work here, which is always fun. I found it really fun to use the flex nib with this because I find that if I'm using the flex on a particular paper, I'm afraid of taking some of the paper fibers with me in the nib, whereas this one I didn't have that fear. It was a smooth, flexy experience. But what I did notice was that there was some feathering, like I mentioned in the ink, the currently inked here, but that is because it is one of my broadest nibs. It's not even a broad, but Pelikan, right, very broad and very wet. There is some shadow, but no bleed through. Still, again, that's my test for that. I really like the paper so far. And then the last thing that I tested it with were the Sharpie S-Note pens. I wanted to see if these would bleed through at all, and actually these went down very, very smoothly. I'm always afraid with any highlighters or things like that when I do a swatch or a header like this, I'm always afraid of the pen catching, but this went down very, very smoothly, and there's more shadow with these ones and a tiny, like very tiny little bit of bleed through on the places where you start the swatch and end the swatch. So that would be the places that you would apply more pressure. There's a tad bit more of a chance that you're gonna get a bleed through, but it's actually really not too bad. And then at the very back, I took some notes for the photography job that I had, and it was a nice size to take with me in my photography bag, and these were just some quick notes I jotted down to be able to make sure that I had all the right settings in the different locations. And then there is the back cover. So another thing with this particular notebook, it actually is a really great price from Great Fountain. Main thing is that it is a staple notebook. It's not threaded, which is one of the main reasons for the price point. However, because this is just a notebook that I'll probably just be throwing in my purse and just for quick jotting down of notes, the paper quality is actually fantastic for the price point, and I'd be happy to purchase another one of these and actually have a few on the go, or just some as backup for not even I don't want to say a notebook specifically assigned for any one thing, but it's just one of those nonsensical, random, miscellaneous notebook. And plus it's cute. It is cute. And I believe they do now have different colors on their website as well. I'll leave the link to their website in the description below. Overall, my final thoughts on this pocket notebook from Great Fountain, Italy. I'm very grateful that they sent this to me to review. What I like about it, I love the size of it. I love how compact it is. I love the smoothness of the paper. I love how it works with fountain pen ink. My only thing that I would add to it is the dot grid or the grid, but I do believe now they actually offer that on the website. Alright, but that is it for me, a very quick short review of the pocket notebook from Great Fountain, Italy. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day.